Warning, you are about to listen to something fictional, different, and possibly disturbing. If you are afraid of robots, you should leave now. It is a matter of safety. For those who remain, those bold enough to face the truth of tomorrow, Insolent Cool Incorporated presents ICQN News.
Welcome to ICQN News, where we bring you the top news relevant to most people in most timelines. Once again, we're opening up our program with a story about how one of our listeners, who we'll call Diana for the sake of privacy, reached out to us for help, and we delivered. We received a mind message that our listener was involved in a multi-level marketing commune. She'd lost contact with almost all of her friends and family, but while tragic, it isn't shocking. The shocking thing is how she described this group she'd been adopted into. Here's an excerpt from the letter she sent us.
I get that I'm being manipulated and I probably need some kind of therapy because my life is a wreck. I get that, but this isn't just a normal scam. I don't know how to explain it, but there's something evil here, cruel and unimaginable evil.
We sent a reporter, who we'll call Vox, out to investigate. We suspected that we'd just get a story about another group of hucksters victimizing the vulnerable, and that after we gave our listener a few thousand credits to use with our psychology chatbot, this whole ordeal would be in the past. But when our reporter got there, they could feel it too. They could feel the evil. Fox went into the meeting pretending to be Diana's Mark. He looked around at the people there, and his iris scanner returned the expected results when looking over the faces of the attendees. The scanner used facial expressions and body language, combined with audio and scent data, then cross-referenced it all with the Psycho Manual 5000 or PM5K to quickly ascertain that while many of the attendees did not have mirror neurons, they were still human. The PM5K returned a summary analysis stating that a small number of attendees were wealthy, lacked empathy or scruples, and essentially used a greater number of attendees as bait, with the highest number of attendees essentially serving as economic livestock for the first, smaller group. To illustrate its findings, the PM5K presented a diagram to Vox's iris computer in the form of a pyramid, with a note that the few scoffers there for kicks were omitted as outliers. The PM5K sent another short notification to Vox's iris computer not to be alarmed about anyone in the room, and nothing indicated a call to further scrutiny. Suddenly everyone stood up and spoke, or perhaps prayed in unison. We who are not pilgrims of space nor slaves in wait, but those who strive to become acolytes, praise Boldorf, the machine serpent god who has purchased this world in Bitcoin. May his just and rightful reign begin at the mouth of his volcanic temple and coil around and around the world many, many times. Everyone sat down, as did Vox and Diana. What appeared to be a man stepped onto the stage. Diana clutched Vox's arm like an electromagnet. She whispered to Vox, begging him to escort her out, but Vox, having fully embraced the mission of ICQN News, was there to find out the truth. Vox looked at this man. He could feel the evil Diana mentioned and was determined to unmask it. A dot appeared on Vox's iris scanner, above the top of the pyramid, which represented the worst elements in the room. The dot was accompanied by static where the explanation should be. This static somehow spread as if it were a living organism, a virus feeding off of the iris computer's data while at the same time trying to block him from seeing it. Fox pulled out his Squid Detector 3000, held it low and out of sight. He aimed it at the speaker and set it to Inkwave, which detects the psychic wave squids use to control the otherwise mindless anthrolobsters who pose as humans to do the bidding of their cephalopod masters. Vox could feel the speaker's eyes turn to him as he pressed the scan button. Diana watched in horror as the speaker burst out of his clothing and revealed himself to be an enormous space squid with massive tentacles that dominated the room. Several other attendees burst out of their clothing to reveal themselves as hulking, biomechanical anthrolobsters, robotic beasts in the shapes of men but with huge lobster claws, gizmotronic bodies, and seemingly random bits of crustacean anatomy. Diana started to run, but Vox pulled her close as he dropped his squid detector and doused the two of them in Triton Ward Aqua Security spray. Diana felt sick at the smell and texture. She had a good mind to tell him off before fainting. He held her close as the sea creatures circled around the pair, snapping their claws but keeping their distance as if there were some wall preventing them from reaching the relatively edible Vox and Diana. The Triton Ward Aqua Security spray held up as the anthrolobsters ran off into the night, and the monster squid flew out of the building, up into the abyss of outer space. Diana is now safely entering her third week in a virtual rehabilitation simulator. Interacting solely with neo-virtual, non-exploitative persons is helping her get a better grasp of what it's like to be around sane, virtuous people who treat her with dignity, kindness, and reason. When she is ready to go back out into the world, she will be a happier, wiser woman in pursuit of a life she'd never dared dream of prior to our intervention. We reported our findings about the organization to both local law enforcement and the Martian fleet. Unfortunately, these situations are not only common, but a growing concern.
The undead labor situation is quickly evolving into a vampire crisis, as the energy required for summoning spells becomes more available and more vampires are being summoned. We wanted to do our part to stop the spread of vampire disinformation, especially as vampires are distinct from other undead beings, and nothing like how they are portrayed in bigoted ancient Earthian stories. This post is from an anonymous mental media account named Not Mary Frankie.
Vampires enjoy eating raw meats in general, and cannot turn standard humans into vampires. A vampire must be summoned, and current technological limitations prevent vampires from casting summon spells. Vampires are excessively polite and will not enter a building without being invited, which is thought to be the cause of an escalating humanitarian crisis, as they are reluctant to use public restrooms or enter buildings to apply for jobs.
Not Mary Frankie continues.
Most undead laws and regulations were intended for undead beings that do not seem to be sentient, have no thoughts, have no manners, cannot obey laws, and therefore have no rights. So for the time being, vampires have no legal status and are currently being subjected to unacceptable abuses from summoners and law enforcement. Sunlight and certain kinds of radiation give vampires severe depression. So many are forming underground societies in sewer systems, which is causing serious problems for water supplies across the galaxy. As we wait for laws to catch up to summoning technology, the situation is only expected to get worse.
We'll be back after this message with an update on the macro snail crisis.
You wake up, get ready for work, and walk to the vacuum train just like you do every month. You board the train and take a seat. As it takes off, you realize the other passengers aren't people but carnivorous macro lobsters. What do? Unfortunately, the answer is at that point it is likely too late. While we don't know the origins of anthrolobsters, we know their engineers designed them to be much faster than their human prey. What that means for the average person is that by the time you realize you've been cornered by man-eating macro lobsters, it is far too late. All is not lost. If you are safe and listening to this, then you still have time. What you need is a can of Triton Ward Aqua Security Spray. You see, our scientists and engineers have spent years developing a formula to help people like you protect themselves from being eaten by anthrolobsters, macro lobsters, and possibly even macro snails. The fact is, there are people, or perhaps even robots, with a penchant for scientific experimentation that can only be classified as mad. These mad scientists are the penultimate nautocrats to the point of unrestricted thalassiarchy, ruled by the massive, hyper-intelligent super squids that spend their days swimming in the magma at the core of the Earth, plotting their eternal reign. They want to heat the Earth to a point at which the poles melt, flooding the planet so these erudite magmatic regent squids can use it as a staging area from which to subjugate the rest of the galaxy. How does Triton Ward Aqua Security Spray work, you ask? It's very simple. Each morning before you head out, spray yourself from head to toe with Triton Ward Aqua Security Spray. Anthrolobsters hate the smell and will be physically unable to get close to you. The spray is completely safe for humans, but the sad fact is that most people don't find the smell appealing and will also avoid you. This is okay, because to be completely honest, you are too strong to associate with such weak individuals. Anthrolobsters are being printed at an exponential rate, and the fact is that anyone who is not alarmed by this development is already a casualty. They simply will not survive the coming events. Please don't be like them. Please buy a few cans of Triton Ward Aqua Security Spray to keep yourself safe. If you can spare it, buy more cans so that if you have time, you can help protect a neighbor or a loved one. Open the Mind link in this broadcast to make your purchase today. Thank you.
Reports out of New Transformer City are that the Salty Slime Army has taken control over security in the human-dominated regions. This army is led by the slime is a currency technology enthusiasts and entrepreneurs who just weeks ago were the lifeblood of the city. They quickly adapted and changed their operations to create salt-based weapons to help combat the giant man-eating macro snails, after being abandoned by the global government. The Salty Slime Army has made no claim to political power and is fully supported by the mayor, city government, and the majority of the robot, human, and undead populations. No macro snails were willing to participate in the polling. According to reports smuggled past Earth's information blockade, soldiers injured in the fighting have been helping support the war effort by working in a co-op that organizes tours around the soon-to-be historic new Transformer City battlegrounds, as well as homes of inventors of important new sodium defense technologies. This new business is also preparing to merchandise random junk created by the conflict, such as rubble and snail shells. Critics speculate this business operation's real goal is to sell slime creation and management tools on the black market to individuals in the Martian nations, where slime believers expect production to ramp up in the near future.
In related news, during the chaos of the macro snail invasion, a slime production facility caught fire. According to experts, if the flames spread to the substances that go into manufacturing slime for use as a universal currency, as well as a universal production and consumption widget, it would have vaporized the city. The strange thing is, the area had been completely evacuated of humans, living or otherwise, and the emergency EMP meant to prevent robots from going rogue due to lack of supervision, shut off the very fire suppression bots that could have prevented the blaze in the first place. So who is it that actually saved the day? It was the hyper-intelligent smart rats who'd been trained to help run the facility. Under less than an hour, they built an irrigation system that pulled water from other buildings and deployed it strategically throughout the building to help put out the fire. At least that's what the main team of rats did. Other rats evacuated important company documents and equipment, saving the lab's owners an incalculable amount of Bitcoin. The perhaps even bigger story is that these hyper-intelligent smart rats had never seen the world outside of the lab before, and had little understanding of how big civilization and the broader universe really was. The rats are now organizing to fight for their rights to be respected, as well as protected by the broader global government and galactic society that they've contributed so much to. Thank you for listening to IC Quantum News. Join us next week for more top news from the most lucrative universes. Goodbye for now.
That concludes this episode of IC Quantum News, written and produced by Michael David Marshall. Subscribe to the Insolent Cool Substack for the latest news on our books, games, podcasts, and more. Thank you for listening to Insolent Cool Radio. If you enjoyed this program, please leave a review. Until next time.